Pause.
Hi guys, Chris here from Cowboy Rugby. This is the third video in a series looking at the end of year tours. In this one I'm going to be looking at England. They're going to be starting off their campaign with a game against the All Blacks, followed by a game against Australia, then South Africa, and they finish up the year with a game against Japan. So my predictions for this, I see a very narrow loss to the All Blacks. I'm just giving it to the All Blacks because they've had recent tests in the Rugby Championship, so I think they'll have a bit more cohesiveness. It's going to be a very close one based on the games in New Zealand in mid-year. England really pushed the All Blacks hard there, but I think the All Blacks have developed their game a bit since then. And like I said, they've had time in camp together, and I think that's going to count in their favour. Next up, Australia. I don't see the Wallabies troubling England too much. They're really in a rebuilding phase. They don't have access to all of their best players because of the rules in Australia, unless they change things and give Joe Schmidt access to all of his players. I can see a bit of a hiding coming for Australia when they go up against England. Thirdly, the South Africans. That's going to be a tough one as well. I'm going to give the game to the South Africans there. Same reason. They've got a lot of depth at the moment. They're coming off a high, having won the Rugby Championship. And they've got a more settled squad, whereas England are in a bit of a rebuilding phase under Steve Borthwick. So I'm giving the South Africans the win there. And against Japan, I see England putting up a cricket score there. Japan are really rebuilding. I don't know if Eddie Jones is sure who his best players are. And then the Japanese varsity season will be on, so they do lose access to a few players there. If we take a look at the full England squad, we can see it's quite a nice blend of upcoming players and experienced heads. We've got Finn Baxter, Ellis Genge and Joe Marler. So Baxter's obviously the young up-and-comer, did really well against New Zealand. So that's going to be quite a scrap for the loose head berth. At hooker, we see the return of Luke Cowan-Dickie. He hasn't played since 2022. He's had some bad luck with injuries. Really good to see him back, and he's going to push Theo Dan and Jamie George really hard. At one point, he had usurped Jamie George there, but obviously George is the captain of the squad at the moment, and it's going to take quite a bit of doing to unseat him there. At tight head prop, Dan Cole and Will Stewart have been joined by Trevor Davison. He's had 2 caps a few years ago, and he's going to be pushing hard. And if he does really well here, we could see him supplanting Dan Cole, becoming a regular in the England 23. Lock is quite a logjam. Chesham, Ewells, Esekwe, Itoje, and Martin, they're all going to be fighting it out. You'd say the only nailed-on starter there is probably Maro Itoje. George Martin brings a lot of physicality. Ollie Chesham's obviously a bit more mobile. Esekwe can double up as a flanker if needed. And Charlie Ewells is a good line-out organiser. So that's going to be quite a scrap there. Bit of a tough one to call, but Steve Borthwick's blessed with some great options there. It's going to be interesting to see who he chooses. If we look at the back row, the Currys are back from injury, as well as Alex Dombrunt. The incumbents are Chandler Cunningham South, Ben Earl at 8th man, and Sam Underhill. But they're going to be pushed hard. I think Tom Curry's got a good shot at getting a start, but who is he going to be taking the place of? Will he be replacing Sam Underhill, or will he be replacing Cunningham South? So that's going to be quite a scrap. It's going to be interesting to see who Steve Borthwick goes with. Personally, I think he's better served coming back from the bench, just getting back into the swing of things. Obviously, he's still very young. He also started his international career very young, and that might be taking its toll on his body. So I'd stick with the loose trio from the games against New Zealand back in June, and then introduce Curry off the bench. If we look at the scrum halves, Alex Mitchell is injured. So we've got Harry Randall, Spencer, and Van Poorvliet coming back from his injury. So I think he might jump the queue there. He was the incumbent before he got injured, and then Alex Mitchell took his chance, came from outside of the squad and dominated to take that number 9 jersey at the World Cup last year. Looking at the fly halves, Yeah, we've only got Finn Smith and Marcus Smith there. So George Ford still needs to make his way back. He's currently injured at the moment, but he has been included in the England squad for rehabilitation purposes. Looking at the centres, we've got Ollie Lawrence. Alex Lazowski is making a return after 6 years. Luke Northmore, Henry Slade. I see Alex Lazowski's been included here as a centre, but obviously he's got the ability to back up at fly half, inside and outside centre, wing and fullback as well. So he might be a very useful bench option for Steve Borthwick. Looking at the wingers, Emmanuel Fayo-Weboso, Tom Roebuck, Ollie Slightholm and Tommy Freeman. There's going to be some good competition there. I'm expecting to see Freeman and Fayo-Weboso keep their positions. Depends on what Borthwick wants to do with Elliot Daly, though. Saracens man is quite a utility player. Also can feature at outside centre and fullback, so depends where he might want to go and whether or not they want some experience there. Looking at the fullbacks, there's quite a battle there with different styles. Elliot Daly, George Furbank and Freddie Stewart. Stewart's more of a solid player, if we can describe him, whereas Daly and Furbank have that X factor. George Furbank's the incumbent at the moment, so I think he's going to get the nod there. But might be bench options, or a bench position for Elliot Daly there. Bit of a jack of all trades, he can cover quite a few positions. So possibly him and Lazowski on the bench, you're covering everything from 10 backwards. Steve Borthwick also included a list of injured players. So there's some big names there. Bevan Rudd, Alex Coles, Alex Mitchell, Rafi Quirk, Fraser Dingwall, Max Ajomo, Joe Thakanasinga and Will Muir. So you can make quite a handy backline out of that lot. Just shows that England have some good depth at the moment. When you look at the squad they've managed to put together, even though they're missing those players. Speaking of that depth, there are quite a few good players who have missed out. I've labelled them as those left out in the cold. We've got Fergus Burke from Saracens, Jack Walker, Zach Mercer in what's becoming quite a familiar trend. Ted Hill, don't know what more he needs to do to get into the England squad. He's been bashing the door down, but just up against some really quality players. Same goes for Alfie Barbary, Guy Pepper, Tom Willis and Ethan Roots. Loose forward is an area of immense depth for England at the moment, and it's more a case of who do you leave out rather than who do you put in. Same goes for Gabriel Ebitoya. He's up against some really quality outside backs, so it's just hard for him to crack the nut at the moment. I've taken a stab here at choosing a 23 to take on the Southern Hemisphere Giants. And I think we're going to see Joe Marler, Jamie George, Will Stewart, familiar faces by now, Mario Toje. I've gone for George Martin. I think they're going to need an enforcer, somebody to really front up to the All Blacks and the Springboks physically. Then I've gone for the now familiar loose trio of Cunningham South, Underhill and Ben Earl. On the bench, they're going to be backed up by Tom Curry, as I mentioned. I think he can come on and cause a bit of havoc in the last 20-25 minutes of a game, get lots of turnovers, put in some big hits. Scrum half, I've gone for Jack van Poortvliet. I think he needs to come back in. He was the incumbent before he got injured, and he makes a difference. He snaps around the fringes, he keeps defences guessing, and he's a bit of a triple threat. They don't know if he's going to take the gap, if he's going to pass, or if he's going to box kick. Flower half, I've gone for Marcus Smith. Wings, Tommy Freeman, Manuel Fayo-Weboso. Gone for the familiar centre pairing of Lawrence and Slade. They've been dovetailing quite nicely with Marcus Smith. I just want Smith there to be given a bit of freedom to create the magic that he creates with Harlequins. He doesn't really thrive in an environment that's too structured. He needs to be able to play off the cuff when he's allowed to, obviously within a defined game plan. But he does need that license to roam and to play what he sees. Then George Furbank, he likes to run it from the back. Good boot on him as well. Good attacker and good defender. So he gets the nod at fullback. On the bench, I've gone for Luke Cowan-Dickey. I think he's going to replace Theo Dan there, provide a bit more experience. and I think they're going to need that against the Springboks and the All Blacks. Looking at the rest of the front row reserves, I've gone for Ellis Genge and Trevor Davison. Genge is going to be a welcome addition. He carries really well, scrums well, and he's going to cause some havoc in the last 15 to 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. Really likes to get his hands on the ball. And then Trevor Davison's changing of the guard with Dan Cole dropping out. He's only got the 2 caps, like I mentioned. He's 32 now, but that's a good age for a prop, and I expect big things from him. I'm putting Ollie Chessum on the bench as the reserve lock. Tom Curry I mentioned before. And then I've gone for Ben Spencer, Finn Smith, and then Alex Lazarski. That way you are covering absolutely every position. If they wanted to, they could put Lazarski in as the backup fly half, but I think Finn Smith just provides a bit more direction on attack there. He can come on for Marcus Smith. Smith can drop to fullback if need be, or Lazarski can go there. If Marcus Smith drops to fullback, then Lazarski covers everything else, both wings, inside and outside centre. So he just gives you a lot of options there, and he's a useful bench player, sort of like Adam Ashley Cooper was for Australia. And there you have it, guys. That is my take on what's going to happen for England in their tests at the end of this year. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Which players do you think should have been included? What do you think of my match day 23? And which players would you change there? Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, please hit like and hit the subscribe button. And please share this video out to your friends. Thanks, guys.